Okay, Bob, we can start the meeting. Chairman Berton, I think you're still muted.
Yeah, Berton's muted.
There we go. Good evening. It is 6:30 p.m. on June the 8th, 2020. I call to order the regular monthly meeting of the Planning and Transportation Commission of the City of Mission Viejo. And this is a virtual meeting which is accessible via live stream. At this time, we will begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. And
Where's my...
it is beyond question that at this time we need the people to be a more united nation and to be able to come back stronger as a nation. So I'd like to ask Vice Chairman Reach if he could lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance.
If you all follow me, please. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance
allegiance
to the flag
to the flag
of
of the United States of America,
And
and to the republic
for
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
One
nation,
nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
with liberty.
with
liberty,
liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
girl.
Thank you.
Chairman Berton, check that you're not muted.
Okay, we're going to proceed with the roll call, commencing with Commissioner Blum. Commissioner Blum, are you present?
Here.
Commissioner Nauerhays,
Here.
Commissioner Leckness,
Present and loving it.
Vice Chairman Reich.
Present.
Thank you. It appears that all 5 commissioners are present. Now we'll move forward to the public comment for non-agenda matters or agenda matters other than public hearings. So the deadline was 5 p.m. and Administrative Assistant Hannes, have we received public comments for non-agenda matters?
No, there are no comments.
Okay, thank you. Then now we will proceed to the consent calendar, which consists of 4 items. Does any commissioner wish to remove one of the any or more of the consent calendar items? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll move the item, Chairman Berton. This is
I'll
Commissioner
second
Blum.
it.
It's been moved and seconded. We're going to take a voice vote. So all commissioners turn on your microphone, and all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? By the same, it appears that it passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll move now to the public hearings. The first item, which is the Plan Development Permit PDP 2019-311 for the construction of a small cell by AT&T. And I would like to hear first a staff report on this item. The recommendation is that there's no action required because it appears that they want to withdraw this matter. So I'll turn the time over to Mr. Martin, Senior Planner.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and fellow members of the commission. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yes. So the applicant would like to withdraw PDP 2019-311 and its petition from AT&T to construct a new small cell wireless telecommunication facility located within the public right-of-way off Marguerite Parkway adjacent to the U.S. Post Office. The applicant met with staff along with the design review committee, and they would like to withdraw this application, and they're exploring a new location. That concludes my report. I'm available for any questions you might have.
Does any commissioner have a question of staff?
No, this is Commissioner Blum. I just wanted to let you know the staff did a good job in keeping the Commissioner Reish and myself informed, and it looks like AT&T is listening to us. So thank you, Tim, for the staff report, and Elaine. So with that, Chairman, I yield back to you.
Thank you. Any other comment or question? Because no action is required on this matter, then we will move on to item number 6, which is the PDP permit 2019-312 for the AT&T small cell monopole facility by the Burlington store. And I understand that the recommended action here is to continue it to July the 13th. Once again, I turn the time over to Senior Planner Tim Martin for staff report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This is basically a related application to the previous one that we just all talked about with the withdrawal of PDP 311. And this one, the applicant would like to continue this item till July 13th of next month to keep working on some design issues. They are here. They are online if anybody has any questions for them, but they would like to continue it. Thank you. That concludes my report. Available for any questions you have.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Is there a motion to continue the matter to July the 13th, 2020?
I move we continue the meeting to July 13th. Commissioner
Dave
Reish?
Lectus, I'd like to second that.
Is there any opposition to that motion? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we'll move to item number 7, which is the 2020 through 2024 Consolidated Plan and Action Plan for the expenditure of the fiscal year 2021-2020 CDBG funds. This is how we're going to proceed. I'm going to turn it over to staff. That is Director Elaine Lister and Consultant Mike Linares for a report. Then we'll have questions of staff by commissioners. Then I will open it to the open the public hearing, at which time I will ask Administrative Assistant Hannes if we have received any comments or questions from the public regarding this matter. After that, I will ask Planning Manager Longnecker if we have received any phone calls during this meeting concerning this matter. If we have, then we will listen to the public, the phone calls in the order that they have been received. Then I will close the public hearing, and then we will just have discussion of the matter, further questions, and then a motion and a vote. Okay, I'll turn the time over then to Director Lister to initiate the staff report.
Good evening, Chairman Breton and members of the Planning Commission. This is our annual, as you indicated, this is our annual Community Development Block Grant Program. It's our action plan as well as the 5-year Consolidated Plan. With that, I do want to note that you normally see this staff report in March. It's a little bit later this year because the deadline for submittal to HUD has been extended to August. And so that's why it's a little bit later than usual. And so with that, I'd like to hand over to our CDBG consultant who you have met in prior years, Mike Linares. Mike, you want to take it away?
Great. Thank you, Elaine. Good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. So I just have a quick PowerPoint presentation, and then I will be happy to answer any questions that the Commission may have. Larry, can you move forward? Larry, do you have control of the PowerPoint?
Yes, I'm seeing it as I
Okay,
just
thank you.
advanced it.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So the item before you this evening is again, ask Commission to hold a public hearing, obtain additional public comment on the draft 2020-2024 Consolidated Plan, the 2021 Annual Action Plan, and then also the 2024 Orange County Analysis of Impediments to Fair Housing Choice. Next slide, please. So HUD has notified the city that for next fiscal year, it will receive $382,121. This is about $21,500 more than the city's current year grant. As a quick reminder, all activities that are funded with CDBG must meet one of 3 national objectives: the elimination of blight, addressing an urgent need, and benefiting low and moderate income individuals. Again, every 3 to 5 years, and the city is on a 5-year cycle like most Orange County cities, we are required to prepare a new consolidated plan. The current plan will end at the end of this year. I apologize for the typo. It should be June 30, not June 20 of this year. Next slide, please. So the strategic plan itself is an assessment and analysis of various housing and community development needs. Much of the data that is in the document is provided by HUD. HUD utilizes the Census Bureau and also some very special data analysis that the Census Bureau does on behalf of HUD. About 80%, I'd say, of the tables in the document are pre-populated with HUD information, and the city is required to analyze that information as part of the assessment and analysis sections. There's also a strategic plan portion in the document that identifies the 5-year strategy, specifically programs and projects that can be funded with CDBG to address the priority needs. And then the annual action plan is also part of the consolidated plan. This year, for next year, will be the first year. The annual action plan is the one that you're more accustomed to seeing the city staff come to the council, or to the commission on an annual basis. But that is the expenditure plan, how the city plans to use the CDBG funds for a specific 12-month period. Next, please. Next, please. Thank you. The consolidated plan is drafted. Oops, let me skip ahead one, Larry. Thank you. The consolidated plan basically maintains the current priorities of the current consolidated plan. And that is mainly using the federal funds to continue to do public improvements such as streets, sidewalks, ADA improvements, affordable housing activities, and mainly the city's housing rehabilitation program. And in recent years, the city has utilized its funds to assist with the acquisition of affordable housing units. Public services, these are services for seniors, youth, disabled individuals. Homelessness prevention services, mainly rent utility assistance for households that are at risk, food bank services, and then as needed, temporary shelter, interim housing, rapid rehousing. And then program administration, which includes fair housing services. Next, please. This table outlines the resources that the city has available for next fiscal year, the $382,000 CDBG grant. The city has a significant amount of carryover funding for next year, and there's a reason for that, as we'll discuss in a second. And then some anticipated program income that's repayments of prior funded loans, housing rehabilitation loans that are available to fund additional activities. Proposed for funding are CDBG administration, public services, housing rehabilitation, and then a proposed housing acquisition project. Next slide, please. This is basically a pie chart of the prior table. So you can see about 15% of the funds between administration and public services. And then the bulk of the funds next year going toward housing activities, housing rehabilitation, and housing acquisition being the largest amount of recommended funding. Next slide, please. This city's Community Services Commission plays a vital role in this process. They make recommendations to you for public service grant funding. For this year, the city received 6 applications requesting $77,000. The commission met in February and interviewed the applicants in a public hearing, and they have made their funding recommendations for your consideration. You see the table there. It's also your staff report of the commission's recommendations, and then also kind of did a pie chart to help for you to see where the funding allocations are distributed. Next slide, please. In terms of the impediments to fair housing analysis, the city is a recipient of CDBG funding, is required to comply with the Fair Housing Act, also required to affirmatively further fair housing. The city has always participated in a county-wide plan, a fair housing document. There's been one of these documents in place since the city became an entitlement community back in the year 2000. The thing that's different this time is HUD did make some modifications to the rules and now requires that the city approve the analysis of impediments to fair housing, similarly as it approves its consolidated plan. So for this next round, this next 5-year cycle, the city participated with 20 other Orange County cities and the County of Orange to develop the 2020-2024 analysis of impediments to fair housing. Next slide, please. So just again, real quickly, the role of the Planning Transportation Commission is to hold a public hearing to accept additional public comment on the consolidated plan this year and the action plan, and then to make final recommendations for the use of CDBG funds to the City Council. Next slide, please. So the recommendation is for the commission to hold a public hearing and to recommend to the City Council to approve the 3 documents, the consolidated plan, the 2020-21 action plan, and then the analysis of impediments to fair housing. So, Mr. Chair, that concludes my comments. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Linares. I'm looking on the on my bulletin board and see no hands raised at this time. This is another chance. Any commissioner wish to ask any questions of Mr. Linares?
Commissioner Reich has a question.
Okay, Commissioner Reich and then Commissioner Leknes.
Yeah. Just a point of clarification. In the 2024 plan, I believe you said 20 cities were part of that. And if so, is there a reason that, I'm assuming those are Orange County cities, all Orange County cities weren't part of it?
Mr. Chair, members of the chair or the commission, the participants were other cities that received CDBG funding. So not every community in Orange County, every city in Orange County receives CDBG funding directly from HUD. The smaller jurisdictions like Dana Point, San Juan Capistrano, they receive funding through the County of Orange or through the state of California. So they would have a separate document for that purpose.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Leknes. Turn on your microphone.
Where's Leknes?
Funds to, I know what Age Well is. I know what South County Outreach is. but one of them was the Camino Health Center, and
Joe's
it had
gonna be next.
a larger portion of the distributed funds going to there. Who decides that? And what do they do? What is Camino Health Center?
Chairman, Commission, I think I might have missed the first part of the question, Commissioner, but if I heard you correctly,
Well,
Camino
there
Health
was
Center.
a slide there. You got a slide that listed, I don't know if you can bring it back up, but it listed the 5 or 6 different organizations that we give the funds to, and one of them was Camino Health Center, and I'm wondering what do they do, and are they connected to the Mission Hospital, and why is it so lopsided? Why are they getting a larger portion? Who decides that?
Okay, thank you for the clarification. So the recommendations are based on, there's a funding criteria that was established by the City Council. It recently revised, I think as recent as 2015. And based on that criteria, staff does an evaluation of the the applications and will rate the applications. And then we present those preliminary recommendations to the Community Services Commission, who takes additional public testimony. And then they come up with their own funding recommendations, make adjustments, or will move forward with staff recommendation. Specifically, the Camino Health Center, I believe they do have a relationship with Mission Hospital. What they propose to do, which is a service they've been providing to Mission Viejo through the CDBG funding for several years now, and that is it's to provide low-cost primary health care and pediatric dental services to lower-income Mission Viejo residents.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Blum.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, I a question for you. Since we're in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic and shutdowns, during this time, do grants get pulled because of lack of funding, or are these funds already accounted for and that won't affect our votes and distribution?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, these funds have already been designated and approved by Congress and have been, the city's already received notice from HUD that these will be available to the city for next fiscal year beginning July 1. So I don't anticipate any reason why these would be pulled from the city for lack of a term. In fact, the city has received additional funding under the CARES Act. And that item will be coming probably to the commission in some form or another information piece in the near future.
Great, thank you. I just, it's just a up and down time. I just want to make sure we all know these funds will be available and not get pulled for any reason. So that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioner wish to ask a question? Okay, I have a couple of questions to ask Mr. Linares. First of all, with regard to the analysis of impediments to fair housing choices, which is part of this, the recommended action, we're being asked to recommend to the City Council that they approve a plan that was prepared by other cities in Orange County and by the county itself. Could you explain whether our approval locks us into approving a plan that could be subsequently changed either by the county or by other cities?
Mr. Chair, Commission, the document has been prepared over a period of time. Cities have met on a somewhat regular basis. We've had several conference calls in terms of working at the details of the general document. The understanding, the consensus of all the participating cities in the county is that the body of the document will not be modified from the point that everybody agreed that the draft was good to move forward. The only thing that would change at this point is the specific recommendations for actions that the city of Mission Viejo would take. And the same holds true for other cities, as they have been approving or will be approving or adopting this document. It's with the understanding that nothing in the document will change other than those very specific recommendations to each one of that specific jurisdictions.
Thank you. My second question is with regard to the coronavirus, the impact of the stay-at-home orders, the unemployment in Mission Viejo, and business closures. Now, I know that this particular community development block grant funding does not relate directly to the CARES Act, which provides our city with monies to help those who have been affected by the coronavirus. But do you think it might help in your report that's going to the council and to Washington, D.C., to HUD, that it might help to indicate that we will be conferring with and receiving information from the state of California, the county of Orange, and other agencies in order to ascertain what the impact has been on the businesses and on the residents who are unemployed in Mission Viejo?
Mr. Chair, yes, to the extent that we can collect information from from the state, from any federal agency that may have statistics available, we can update the document or the staff report to the city council. We'd be happy to include that more current information.
Thank you. And my last question is to Director Lister. On page 69 of the report, which is our page 57, it states that the city allocated CDBG funds to assist families forward in acquiring 2 condo units in the past that provided permanent affordable housing for families exiting their interim housing program. This one includes $482,000 to acquire 1 more unit. If this passes and is approved by the council, would you be working with any nonprofit organization in order to acquire that unit? And is this enough money for that?
We would most likely be working with Families Forward. We have started a conversation with them, although nothing, until it goes through the approval process, that's as far as it's gone. I think that money, based on the Mission Viejo market, should be very close to getting them something.
If it doesn't, do you anticipate asking them to pay a portion of it and also to ensure that they administer, that they obtain ownership and administer all of the housekeeping duties with regard to the condo, the maintenance?
Yes, having looked at some preliminary information and had that initial discussion with them, they feel quietly confident, I guess would be the term I would use, that this amount of money will be getting them something, or if there's a small gap, they may be able to take care of that gap. And yes, the ongoing maintenance, etc., would be on them to maintain it.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff before I open the public hearing? Seeing none, I'm going to open the public hearing and ask Administrative Assistant Hannes, have we received any comments, written comments with regard to this agenda item?
No, there are no written comments.
And I would ask you and Senior Planning Manager Longnecker, have we received during this meeting, have we received any phone calls from anyone regarding the CDBG funding or any aspect of this matter, this agenda item?
No, there are no phone calls.
No phone calls.
Thank you. Then I close the public hearing and open it up for discussion, questions, discussion from anyone before we go to a motion. I see none. Speak up if you have any. Okay, if I hear, okay, then the chair will entertain a motion to approve the recommended action, which is to recommend to the city council approval of the draft consolidated plan, including the annual action plan, the draft Orange County analysis of impediments to fair housing choice. Is there such a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Who was that? Who was that?
Commissioner, now,
Okay, Commissioner Nauerhase makes the motion. Is there a second?
Dave Leckness will second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion before we vote on the motion? Hearing and seeing none, then I'm going to call for a voice vote. And in order to make sure that we can all register our vote, I'm going to go down the line. The maker of the motion, Commissioner Nauerhase.
Yes.
And the one who seconded, Commissioner Leckness.
Yes.
Commissioner Blum.
yes.
Vice Chair Reish.
Commissioner Reish is an aye.
Pardon me?
Yes, Commissioner Reish.
Okay, and I vote yes in favor. So that passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Mr. Linares, before you go, I want to thank and congratulate you on such an outstanding, lengthy omnibus report. I can't imagine the tedious, meticulous work that you went through to prepare this. Your explanation and analysis and recommendations are superb, and we never expect less from you. You are really the gold standard in this type, in this area of community services. Your clear articulation of the issues and of the regulatory and legal requirements and of the fiscal parameters and the needs analysis and the historical context and strategic objectives and data-driven priorities are a fine example of clarity and thoroughness. So thanks again for all the work you did. And just one more question, Mr. Linares. When you go to the council, will there be one hearing or two hearings?
Can you hear me, Commission?
Yes.
Okay, it looks like I was on mute, sorry. It will be one, sir.
Just one?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then. That'll be 2 weeks from tomorrow, right?
That is the goal, yes.
Okay. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Good
Commission.
Okay, now we'll go to the last item on the agenda, which is item, let's see here. Item 8. This is under new business. And I'm going to turn the time over to Philip for a staff report.
Hi, good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. This is Philip Natayama, Public Works Department Traffic Engineer. I am here to present the local signal synchronization 2020 update. Next slide, please. So just to give a background summary, in 2006, The Measure M2 ordinance was approved by the Orange County voters. That's basically the half-cent sales tax to fund various transportation programs for years 2011 to 2041. So in 2010, all local agencies were required to do an initial adoption of the local signal synchronization plan. In order to receive Measure M2 money, each city had to adopt a local signal synchronization plan and include a resolution with that adoption. And the city had to update the plan once every 3 years. So we have done 2 updates, one in 2014 and 2017, and we're due for another update this year. And we have to execute a resolution by June 30 of 2020. So next slide, please. So this slide shows more information if you want to learn about the Measure M2 program. There's a link there. It's also known as the Orange County Go program. Basically, that half-cent sales tax is for transportation funds, and OCTA divides those funds into 4 major programs, which is the freeways, the streets and roads, transit, and environmental. Within the streets and roads program is this particular program called the Regional Traffic Signal Synchronization Program. And again, per the M2 ordinance, we're required to update the program once every 3 years. I do have a small pie chart on the corner of this exhibit that shows how much of the money is allocated for each program. You know, the freeways gets the most because it has the most vehicles. The streets and roads gets the second most, which is 32%. Transit gets 25% of the funding allocation, and then there's a small 2% that's reserved for environmental. Next slide, please. So the local signal synchronization program plan, it has 5 components. The first component is the synchronization goals. That's embedded in our general plan. The second component, which is the most important one, is shown on the screen. We're adopting a traffic signal synchronization street route map. Basically, we're trying to be consistent with OCTA's designation for each arterial roadway. And so we're adopting their plan. On this exhibit, you can see that the priority corridor network is in blue. Those are the corridors that carry the most traffic. The local signal synchronization network is in orange. Those are the second most traffic volumes in our city. And that's for local signal synchronization. And then the white lines are signal synchronization networks. They have lesser volumes, but we still synchronize them. So that's the second component of the LSSP plan. The third component is a traffic signal inventory. That's the equipment for the traffic signals. The fourth component in the plan is our funding budget for the next 3 years. And the fifth component is an assessment of how each corridor is performing. So next slide, please. So there was a resolution included in your packet that was sent to you last week. However, that was an incorrect resolution that was sent to all of the commissioners earlier this evening around 5 o'clock. The correct resolution was emailed today. The difference, the correct resolution is combined with 2 other programs. The other program is the Pavement Management Plan program and the 7-year CIP resolution. What we're trying to do is minimize the number of resolutions that we approve at the next city council meeting in June 23rd. instead of going to city council to approve 3 different resolutions, we combined them together. And that's the change in the resolution. The wording is all the same for the local signal synchronization plan. There's an additional language to approve the pavement management plan and the 7-year CIP. The other 2 programs are not required to go through the planning commission. They go straight to the city council as we've done in the past. But I wanted to include a combined resolution or the draft for this commission so that we're approving the same thing at the city council level. Okay, next slide, please. So at the conclusion of this meeting, we're requesting the Planning and Transportation Commission to recommend approval of the attached resolution for the city's local synchronization plan update so that we can continue receiving funding availability through the Measure M2 program. We're on schedule to present this resolution and the local signal synchronization plan at the June 23, 2020 City Council meeting. And next slide, please. That's the end of my presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions that the commissioners have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does any commissioner have a question to ask of staff? Yes, Commissioner Blum. Turn on your microphone, Commissioner Blum.
It's on. Can you hear
Now,
me?
yes.
Okay. Based on the lockdown and less miles drive, which means less purchase of fuel, does that affect these budgets moving forward?
That's a good question. I presume that it will. The half-cent Orange County sales tax will probably diminish because some of the businesses have been closed for a couple of months. And so I know that the retail has taken a hit. So the funding availability for these programs will most certainly decrease. OCTA board approves the programs in August. And in August, we find out how much money is allocated for each program for the following year.
So will you have to revise this since you said this is I think this is a 5-year plan, is that correct? Will you come to us with a revision?
No, this resolution is just to confirm to OCTA that we are synchronizing our traffic signals consistent with their master plan.
Okay.
And we have the intention to do so moving forward.
But you also had a funding component. I guess that's what I was asking. Sorry.
I see. Yeah. So the funding component is the city's own local money that we be using as a local match to whatever OCTA is providing to the city.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Leckness, go ahead.
Philip, I don't know if the other commissioners have had a chance to go into your office and see the elaborate setup you have there up on the wall. You've got a daily view of about, a dozen or more intersections, which they should go. If you haven't had a chance to go look at his office and see what he sees from his desk, it's pretty fascinating. But my question is this, Phil, have you ever sat there and seen, oh geez, I don't know if I lost. Sorry about that. I don't know if I'm on.
You're on.
Philip, I don't know if you've ever seen anything that has to do with this synchronization setup that you've said, wow, this is really working, or maybe it needs a little work. Anything from those screens above your desk?
Oh, yeah, we have several video cameras throughout the city. And there are a lot of things to see on those cameras. Some of them are legal, some of them are illegal. So it's pretty fascinating to watch. You can watch it all day, but we do monitor it on a daily basis. We see all the new signal timing parameters working. We see all the cars moving. We see it when the left turns are stacking up, and we're able to make adjustments as necessary. So it puts a lot of eyes out there for us to review what we're doing. So it validates it, or it tells us we're doing something wrong. So that's the great part with having the video cameras out there. We also have a software that streams live exactly what each traffic signal in the city is doing and what phase it's doing. If it's turning left, if it's going through, we can see that right away. We can also see if one of the signals is not working right away. So if a signal goes on all-way red flash or the signal turns off, we will know firsthand because we get a notification before any resident calls in or before the cops get called to an intersection. And then we send out, we're proactive about it, and we send out our signal technician to repair it right away. So that screen that you're referring to, yeah, it works for us a lot. I'm actually working at home, and I have access to those programs from my laptop at home. So that's pretty neat that I'm able to do that and monitor from home remotely. But it's a great tool to have.
All right, thanks, Phil. Great job.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other commissioner have any question? Okay, I'd like to ask a question of our Assistant City Attorney, Ms. Swicker. Are you there?
Here.
Okay, now we have had submitted to us a substitute resolution. And under our rules, any supplemental writings or documents distributed to a majority of the Planning and Transportation Commission regarding any item on the agenda after the posting of the agenda will be available for public review in the Community Development Department located at our City Hall during normal business hours. And in addition, such writings or documents will be made available on the city's website at cityofmissionviejo.org and will be available for public review at the respective meeting. Do you have any concerns, having heard him describe the resolution as not changing the substance of the prior resolution?
No, I don't have any concerns. I mean, I think that, if, if as long as we are in compliance with the rules that you just stated, it should be fine.
Okay. And I'm going to ask, have all commissioners received and had a chance, at least an opportunity to review the substitute resolution? Anyone who has not? Okay. Any further questions of staff? Hearing none. Is there a motion to recommend to the City Council approval of this resolution 20- next in order, updating our local signal synchronization plan?
Commissioner Reach speaking. I move that we approve the plan as stated with the change that was sent to us tonight.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Blum, I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay. We'll just all vote at the same time now, and I will ask, is there anyone who opposes the motion? Hearing no opposition, the motion passes unanimously, and it goes to the City Council with our recommendation for approval. Thank you very much, Philip.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's move to staff comments. Director Lister, any comments? or report?
Council chambers going up Marguerite Parkway. So just FYI. But other than that, I have no comments. Thank you for your patience and for participating in the WebEx meeting. I thought it has gone very smoothly. So thank you all for helping us conduct the meeting.
Yeah, Director Lister, this is Commissioner Blum. We missed the first part. Were you talking about a protest going on down near City Hall?
Yes, I just wanted to mention there currently is demonstration march going on right now. It started around 5, 6 o'clock and headed north. As far as I understand, it's all been peaceful, and the marchers are returning down Marguerite Parkway.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we'll go to the comments of each commissioner, if there be any. We'll start with Commissioner Leckness.
Safe and have a great week.
Thank you. Commissioner Nauerhazen.
Good to see all of you. Just wanted to touch on Commissioner Leckness and I had a traffic committee meeting also virtually via WebEx, and I just want to compliment city staff for doing their best to make that work. And we were able to still serve the community in the virtual world and get a lot of work done and serve the residents. We had a few things on the agenda that were important to the citizens, and it was nice to see a city come together and put something together virtually and have us knock this out. And that's the theme. I think during all of COVID-19, the city staff has been extremely accessible, and Elaine, your staff, it kind of proves that we actually can work from home, and it works. So I wish you all good health, and thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Blum.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, thank you, staff, for the going over and above to get us sometimes user hostile people on these virtual meetings. It's good. This first one went really smooth, and commissioners and Chairman Breton, thank you for doing a good job. And it's really impressive we can all come together. I echo Commissioner Nauerhazen's comments and Commissioner Leckness. Thank you all for the big efforts, and we're looking forward to moving forward for the rest of the year. We got some exciting projects coming at us. So thank you, and be safe and healthy.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Reish.
Well, good evening. Yes, it has been an interesting time for all of us. My comments pertain really, one, to the observations of the changes to our city. We have a number of seniors, and I've been able to firsthand see some of the needs that are happening. Surprisingly, a 2% price in groceries, which, you go to the market, it costs a little bit more, is directly impacting many of the seniors, particularly the low-income seniors in our great city. I've seen the growth of just the need for groceries. So it is an issue that's out there, and as we deal with situations that directly impact our seniors, we need to keep in mind that they're on fixed incomes, but everything else isn't, and it's growing. And this is a situation that I think we should keep in mind. Secondly, I see with the, we'll call it the COVID crisis, and what's changed in our businesses. We know some of the businesses aren't coming back. Some of the businesses we approved are never going to open. But I look at this for us as a challenge and a great opportunity to be able to mold our city to bring in new businesses that maybe in the past didn't have the opportunity to come here. So I think it's important for us to be aware of that, to look for that, and do whatever we can as a commission to be able to help reestablish obviously our sales tax revenue, bringing people in that will complement what we need within our city, complement our businesses, but also grow the whole that I think we're going to be seeing very soon. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. I had two comments I'd like to make. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Larry and Angela and Mark, who was there in the council chamber, for all of their technical expertise in setting this up and running it so smoothly, and all the extra work that Angela had to do. With regard to the impacts of the coronavirus, some of the commissioners, and maybe particularly Commissioner Leckness, may have interpreted some of my comments or some of my questions to be anti-business. But I want to assure the commission that I'm concerned about the economic vitality of our community, and especially in these times, about providing an economic stimulus to those small businesses throughout our city. And as a result of that, I called Director Lister and asked if she could consider granting an automatic extension to all of those that have received approvals, approved projects. And she graciously agreed that that was something we should be doing, and that's what we approved tonight as item 4 on the consent calendar. I also am asking, and I want you to know that I'm asking this as chairman of the Planning Commission. I'm asking for our community development department and code enforcement to be a little more lenient with regard to sign code enforcement and with regard to sign restrictions. There are many businesses that have large signs up that are not permitted, not authorized, but that simply say, we're now open. We're open for business. Come on in. And I see nothing wrong with us simply not enforcing our sign code for the time being until they get up and running and everything gets back to normal. I know that the council asked Director Lister to help restaurants, to assist them in providing outdoor dining when we had not reached that point where indoor dining was permitted. So I think all of these are ways in which we, as a planning commission or as planning staff, can assist small businesses in and provide a little more economic stimulus. The last thing I wanted to mention to the commission is on our next month, I'm asking Mark Chagnon to make a report similar to the one that he made to the council at their last meeting regarding the widening of the La Paz, the bridge widening and the La Paz widening, something that the city has been working on for at least 9 years. And I think it was formally begun in 2013. And I would like to have a description of the design, and so we can get an update on what is going to be happening on the La Paz Bridge widening and the La Paz Street widening from Crescenta to Muirlands. So thanks again.
Hey, Bob, may
yes.
I jump in before you close out?
Yes, of course.
You said something that's so correct. You know, what we should do is we should send a message to the council to get together with the mall, the manager of the mall, because I mean, this COVID thing really has to have taken a hit to the mall. Because who goes to the mall? Nobody. I haven't been to the mall in like years, you know, and I'm sure others feel that way. But it's such a big part of Mission Viejo. We should have the council, or if there's an economic development committee, you know, they need to meet regularly with the mall to try and think of ideas, you know, to drive people to the mall. Because what we don't want is that domino effect to go in like what happened at Laguna Hills. You know, once one goes out, The rest of the big boys in New York, you know, they're like, close that one. You know, they're closing over there. They're going, you close it too. I mean, wouldn't that be just the worst if that turns into a big giant sinkhole over there? So I think what you said, Bob, is right. We need to get behind economic development any way we can, and it's probably the council that should put something together. But it could come with a recommendation from us that they should step up and get over there and find out, you know, what is happening with that place. That is all. Thank you very much, Bob, for letting me
Thank
sneak in
you.
there at the end.
Thank you, Dave. It's not on the agenda, so we can't vote on any action in that regard, but I think it behooves each of us to contact the council and to perhaps send a comment, an email to the council, or appear at their next council meeting, which is tomorrow night, regarding this. I was in the mall on Saturday and purchased a new iPhone. I know Apple Store is open, May Company is open, but a lot of the big stores, Nordstrom is not. And there are, it's pretty empty. I agree with you. We need to get that open as soon as possible. Thank you all, and wish you all safe, to be safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks very much. Good night.
Good night.